Episode 15 of the signs of the times, of the prophetic things that the Bible speaks about, with reference to what is happening on planet Earth today, living in the end times. We continue Revelation chapter 6, where we follow these riders who rode out over the earth and are riding out, preaching of the gospel, wars, famines, diseases. We heard about the martyrs who are waiting for the big moment that finally God will revenge their innocent blood and judge these murderers who took their lives. And so now we read in Revelation 6 as of verse 12, I watched as he opened the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth, as late figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The sky receded like a scroll, rolling up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and every slave and every free man hid in caves. And among the rocks of the mountains, they called to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For their great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand? So this is signs not just happening on earth, with all kinds of terrible things on the planet, but this is even bringing into the picture the stars and the sun and the moon. It's an earthquake. It's like planet Earth is now shaking, that the fundaments of the earth are getting loose. That's so terrifying of an earthquake. People say that the solid ground where you're standing on suddenly starts to shake, and then everything collapses in an incredible way. When you read about the flood, that big flood that the Bible describes, there's a lot of mountains rising up, earth going down. It's like reshaping the whole planet in a certain way. And in this case, there's even the sun and the moon and the stars. The moon red as blood. Sometimes you hear today when you have certain positions of the moon, you have blood moons, and there are those who have a lot of things and look into that and say, well, this is meaning this or that. I don't think so. Of course, there is to learn something of everything, even a blood moon, reminding you of the moon red as blood, as we just read in the Bible. That will happen, and you hear these passages referred to various times. Also, Peter in the book of Acts, when you have the outpouring of the Holy Spirit on the feast of Shavuot, that we call Pentecost, there he explains that in the last days, he said in Acts 2 as of verse 17, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men dream dreams. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days, and they will prophesy. Well, that happened on that day, on Pentecost, the outpouring of the Holy Spirit upon 120 Jewish people, because that's the number you find in Acts 1. And not just like in the times of the Old Testament, Holy Spirit on a king or on a prophet or on a priest, but men, women, young, old, everyone getting saved by this outpouring of the Holy Spirit and speaking in new languages, in tongues, etc. Peter is quoting here from the prophet Joel, a prophecy. And then he continues, I will show wonders in the heaven above, signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord. And everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Now, that did not happen on the day of Pentecost. Joel the prophet spoke about the outpouring of the Spirit, and he spoke about all these signs on the sun and the moon and the stars. But on the day of Pentecost, it simply was not fulfilled. Yes, outpouring of the Spirit, but no, the sun and the moon and the stars and the great day of vengeance of the Lord. That did not happen. And when you turn to the prophecies of Joel, when you look at the passage that Peter quoted in Joel 2, there you see something. It's found in Joel 2 as of verse 28 to 32. One day when this is going to happen, that the earth is shaking, the sun and the moon and stars are falling and refuse to give light, billows of smoke and darkness. When the Krakatau erupted, it was a volcano near Indonesia in 18. It was so dark that even on other parts of the planet, darkness set in, and there was hardly light enough to live. Now this will happen then on a world scale, but at that moment, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved, for on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will be deliverance. As the Lord has said, among the survivors whom the Lord calls. Whereas the whole world is in turmoil by all of this. The Jews are returning home, are being restored in Israel. That's the moment that Israel shall be saved. All Israel shall be saved, not just the 120 of the day of Pentecost, and not just the few thousand during history who get the revelation on Jesus, but whereas earth is shaking and the great terrible day of the Lord is setting in on planet Earth, then in Jerusalem and in the land, finally, God will give the revelation by a special outpouring of the Holy Spirit to his Jewish people. And then all Israel shall be saved. And not long after that, they will not just see him with spiritual eyes, but they will see him come, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, and of his kingdom there shall be no end.